Alright guys, the One UI 8 update for the S23 is here, and I want to talk about the new features and also just making sure we touch on performance and animations and just the state of the S23 in general. And let's get started with one of the things that I noticed that I was actually kind of interested in that didn't make its way. The animated clock doesn't seem to be working right, or it's either A, they put it here and they just felt like the animation, like it just couldn't handle the animation consistently, which makes no sense. But what I'm talking about is the new clock style where you tap and then it'll shift. So I'll show you guys again. Look at the 0, so it'll stretch out like that. If you use that same style on the S23, it doesn't work. What happens is it will just move over, so it'll swoop over, but it's not like it's not doing like the stretching thing. And like I said, I'm using the same style, so that's one thing I noticed, and so something a lot of people have been asking questions about. Maybe it's like a bug or something like that, but it's supposed to do this. As you guys can see, it's supposed to be kind of moving the numbers, but instead it's just moving over. But yeah, so that's one thing that I noticed. But I mean, it still looks nice, but it doesn't look as, I don't know, it doesn't look as animated, and I wonder if they did that on purpose. I don't know. The new multitasking also made it here, so if we do that and let's open up our gallery, pull down. Now we can do our new and improved full screen multitasking, which is nice. And you can pull it all the way to the top. Very, very cool. There was one thing that I wanted to show was the audio eraser. So everyone was saying that, did it have audio eraser? There is no audio eraser here. Even if you go into the video player, let me turn that down. There's no AI button here, so there's no audio eraser. So for example, how that will look like on the we got the S24 here. I didn't think that they would add this. So there's supposed to be a little AI button that you press there. How you would know that? You would just see it in the Galaxy AI thing. But yeah, the now brief also didn't make it, so there was a lot of questions about if the now brief would make it to the final version. Again, Samsung is not going to put the AI stuff on these older phones, not all of it, because they have to give people a reason to upgrade, but I'm 100% sure it could run the now brief, it could do the audio eraser easily. But yeah, so they're just gonna, and like I said, throughout time they're gonna continue to add features, add AI features, and then the older phones are not gonna get them. But yeah, so just to get those questions out the way, one thing I have noticed is the animations are really smooth on the S23 now. It feels a lot like the S24, so I think the animations are a bit improved here. You might not notice it, but for me, coming from One UI 7, I noticed it quite a bit. Everything is consistently smoother. Even if you're kind of opening a lot of stuff up, everything seems to be really consistent. But like I said, this was something that they really worked on with One UI 7, and I just think it's a lot more consistent when you're opening a ton of more apps. So that's just something that I've noticed. Let me know if you guys have felt like you are feeling some much smoother and better animation consistency. Now you also do have suggested wallpapers now, so if you click on that, it'll take wallpapers from your gallery, or it'll take photos from your gallery, and then it'll set them as a wallpaper option, which is pretty cool. It's something that I like, and I believe these are new dynamic wallpapers. I believe it's been either updated or they added some newer dynamic wallpapers down here. So what happens is these will, I believe they will change. I never really use them because you guys know I like my own wallpapers. But yeah, you have that. Also, guys, the quick share has been updated. So if you just tap on a few images, click share, quick share, and then it's supposed to be easier. So we have our receiving end, and of course we can send as well to QR code or a link. So this is supposed to be, a lot easier to send from device to device. Also, guys, in Samsung Notes, they have added a kind of cool feature here. If we type the plus, you'll see an option called sticky notes. Now, if we click on that, we can change the color, write our stuff in here, and then we can shrink it down. So we can't move it, but let me see if we hold it. Yeah, we can't move it, but you can shrink it down and you can keep writing or whatever. But that's pretty cool feature. There's also been a very cool feature added here, which will allow you to access the settings just by swiping up. Typically, this will flip the camera to the selfie, but you can change this in these settings, and you can also change it back if you want, if you don't like that option here. So it's right here, switch cameras. But I find this to be very useful, especially if you're one-handed or you have smaller hands. Just easier to do this than to come all the way over here and mess with that. So yeah, now I do want to talk about some other things briefly, because everything else in this update, it's very small. Like, I'm talking about like super small stuff that probably most people wouldn't care about. But yeah, that's all like the kind of big noticeable stuff. The battery life is still really good on the S23. I haven't had any issues. Be sure to let us know in the comments down below if you're noticing any major battery changes with your S23. And yeah, performance wise, like I said, still very consistently smooth. And this is still a great option for you guys who are looking for a phone and you don't want to spend a ton of money. Like I said, this phone can still play PUBG 120 frames. You can see these are going for excellent condition, 237 now. And like I said, these are great like gaming phones, guys, with this Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 here. So let's just open up PUBG. As you guys can see, this phone can still play PUBG at 120 frames. It's still really, really fast when it comes to gaming performance. And like I said, at that price, at the 250-ish price point now, this is a really good buy for gamers on a budget. We're not having major overheating problems, and like I said, it's a pretty good entry into doing some competitive gaming, Call of Duty, Genshin, or if you're just someone who likes to play emulators and stuff like that. The 8 Gen 2 here is a pretty efficient processor here, and since it is so cheap, you can go up a little bit and get the S23 Plus, which is not going to be that much if you want a bigger screen, a little bit better battery life. But yeah, the S23 performance-wise has been very consistently good on this One UI. Like I said, even when you open up a ton of stuff, we're still very consistent with animations. Also forgot to mention the weather application has been updated as well too, so you guys can see it looks a lot better, has a lot better graphics here as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys think about the update on the S23. I know a lot of people were having some battery issues on the One UI 7, so I'm just curious to see where's everybody's battery life. And I know it will vary because as a lighter user, I never really struggle with battery life on these phones. It's only like the S22, those type of phones, you kind of run out of battery life, especially on the smaller versions. But this base model S23 is still doing pretty well. Like I said, I really like the phone still for this price point. Really good cameras on here as well too for this price. Very good still. Good dynamic range, very good colors on here. So yeah, I got a bunch of videos on the S23. You guys can check them out. Check out all the comparisons. But this phone is still awesome. It's still running really good. So that's pretty much it. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.